next role on generative AI, or it can be the role on machine learning, deep learning. It can be anything, guys. So this template that I'm going to share it with you today, you can use it, and you can use it as a template. I'll also be sharing you the checklist as well, which you can easily use it. So you can actually use it and ensure that if you just follow the checklist, you should be much comfortable in attending the interviews or even the clearing the interviews as well. Because what I'll be sharing with you today is not just the impulse. So what I've seen is when a person or when a candidate decides that he wants to switch job, so in most of the cases, it could be an impulsive decision. It could be a month end where they decide that, okay, whatever that I'm getting right now, I'm not worth it. Or it can be some kind of some thing might have happened at the workplace, which might have triggered it. Now, on that scenario, if any person starts like preparing, or if any person decides that, okay, they want to move to the next level, that's where the struggle starts. Because you're not prepared as what are the things that would actually come after you start that activity or after you initialize your interview preparation. Now this webinar has been created to make the journey easier. So what I'll be giving you is a checklist. It's not just about, okay, learn this one technique or learn that one technique. I'm sure you might have experimented and you might have experienced that it will not work every time. Now, what I'll be sharing it with you is the proven one, which has worked with me, which I myself do it every time if I want to prepare myself to a new role. And that has worked with multiple learners. I can say hundreds of learners with manifold AI learning who are able to get their dream job by preparing themselves for the interview. So how many of you are excited, guys? So if you're excited, if you are good to start, please confirm by typing in as good to start in chat window. Now, let me remind you, this session is live on our Zoom meeting, as well as we are live on our social media channels as well. That is on our LinkedIn, YouTube. We are live on multiple places, no matter where you are. So ensure that you respond to my questions so that you get to enjoy this interactive session. Okay, so excellent, guys. Thank you, Vijay. Thank you, Rakshita. Thank you, Suraj. Thank you, Samiksha. And thank you, Rajitesh. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Vishal. Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much, team, for your confirmation. So let's proceed ahead and let's get started. See, first of all, let's understand what exactly is this interview process. Now, interview, I would say it's one of the important aspect for anyone because you're trying to move to the next level of the way that you are in, because that's the overall idea of going outside and trying on yourself. Now when you're doing that, there's a lot of things that would come in, like there's a lot of things that you have to face. But let me tell you, most of the external factors most of the external factors, at least you can be prepared, and there are some things which are internal. So that is something which is in your control. So the key idea to prepare yourself and get the most in any interview situation is ensure that you're internally strong, you're well prepared for the ones that you're in control of. That is you. You are the main person who should be ready and who has prepared in all the aspects, not just from the technical standpoint, but also the mentally, to go through the situation or to go through the next level that is required. Because you might have experienced, if you have experienced the interviews, so interview or like being part of the interview is just, I'll say, just 15 or 30 minutes, isn't it? But the things that you have to go through, like whether it is personally or a lot of mental blocks that you might have. Okay. So all those things that you have to ensure that you address it so that you yourself will not be sabotaging the opportunity that you have got. So that's one of the key things that you have to remember. So we can talk more about self preparation in the next session. For now, I wanted to make it simple, a general one, so that anyone who is with me today can get the most of how they can prepare themselves for the next role. So let's get started, guys. See, first of all, I'll start by sharing you the checklist. So see, this is the checklist that we have prepared. So I'll be sharing with you as well in the chat window. So This is a, I'll say, a quick checklist which everyone should refer whenever they are attending or planning for the interview preparation or maybe going for the next job role. Let me just share you the link. I believe, give me 1 second, guys. I think the one that I'm sharing with you, this link might not work. Let me just share you that link as well. Okay, so I've shared you the new link right now in the chat window. Please check out that new link. I'm sharing over here on our social media channels as well. So guys, in case if you're unable to see that link, just let me know and we'll ensure that at least at the end of the session, we'll ensure that this link, you can access it at a later point as well. Okay, now let's start by looking at the checklist that you have to prepare. So if you take a look into this checklist, we have devised a checklist such that not only you are going to cover from the technical aspect, but also the aspects that surrounds the overall interview journey. So first and foremost, like this is a list. Let me just tell you as how you should use this list. Okay. If you click on the link that I have shared with you, let me do that steps with you. If you click on the link, so this is the link that gets opened when you open this sheet. Okay, or when you click on that link, let me open it in a way that you would get. Okay, if I open that link, this is the sheet that gets opened. Now, in order to work with this list, so what you need to do is you have to first click on download and you can download it locally. So this is something that you have to download locally. This is not editable. You cannot modify anything. So once you download this locally, then you can open this file locally and start filling up this form whenever you're taking up the interview or when you decide that, okay, you want to move forward. This checklist gives a powerful way to validate what are the essential things that you have to prepare yourself. Because as I mentioned, there's a lot of things that you would go through in the interview. So it's important that when you have a checklist, at least you know where to start and you'll be focused on ensuring that you're marking it as yes. It's a very simple checklist. Okay. Where over here, so for each key area, we have mentioned what are the things that you need to prepare and some additional notes as well. So to start with, here the first key area says resume and portfolio. So it's a quick validation to ensure that whether is your CV updated with latest achievements. Have you included the portfolio project which demonstrates the machine learning, deep learning, and NLP skill set, which includes the Gen AI as well? Because if you're appearing for the generative AI interviews, if you have built any portfolio, that's a mandatory one. Then have you included the GitHub or code sample where, where that is going to showcase your work? And then the next one is a high level list as have you prepared in all these aspects? Like, are you comfortable with machine learning algorithms and their various tasks, familiarity with deep learning architecture, and so on? So, like this, we have prepared this checklist, and you just have to self assess. And if any resources that you would need, you can go ahead and refer to it. But when you have decided that you want to appear for the interview, so first go ahead and fill in, are you ready, by selecting as yes or no. Now, once you fill in with the yes or no for each and every uh, like for each and every topic that I have mentioned right here, at the end, go ahead and write your preparedness score. So out of that total checklist that I have given, how many of them, okay, how many of them are you yes and how many of them are you no? So that will give you a fair understanding as where you would currently stand. Okay, now how many of you are preparing for the interview right now? Okay, I see Shweta, Tarun, Nikhil. Okay, I see Vijay, Priyanka, Kaushik, Reddy, Anup. So I can see that almost every one of you who have joined with us today are preparing for your next job role, are looking to upgrade themselves to the next, I'll say the next step. then I'll tell you guys, the first thing that you need to do is you have to just keep this checklist with you. And just today itself, just start filling in how many of them are coming to yes and how many of them are coming to no. Now, once you have this details with you, okay, once you have this details with you, you will know where do you currently stand. See, unless and until you know where you currently stand and where you have to go, it's very difficult to reach that goal. It's like when you do not have a goal, you don't know where to go. So this checklist will be your first thing, or we should be your first priority for the day for you. If you're serious about upskilling yourself, or if you're serious about maybe moving yourself in the next ladder of your the career. So this should be the first and the foremost activity, guys, that you have to do. Okay. Now let me just give you some detailed information about what is the idea behind this and what are the things that you have to mention over there. Like I'll just give you the overall idea about like what is mentioned in that sheet so that you'll have a better idea as how you can prepare yourself. So this, what I'll be giving you right now is additional to what I have shared in that sheet. See, when we talk about the generative AI interviews, so you know that the generative AI is revolutionizing the industries. It's creating high demand for skilled professionals. I'm sure you might have experience in your colleagues as well, where like with just a minimal, maybe like you feel like okay that person is not so skilled, but somehow that person was able to move to a job role which you are actually looking out for. Now that's because there's a huge demand for skilled professionals. So if you prepare well and if you ensure that you have a knowledge that is expected by the companies, I'm sure the job market is will be on your side because there's always a demand for high skilled professionals. And when we talk about the interview challenge, so the interview challenge is not just about you deciding, okay, I'm going to switch the job. It involves a lot of aspects as I've described in the checklist as well. It includes that you should be prepared for the technical questions. You should be prepared for technical questions, which includes machine learning, deep learning, NLP, generative AI, mathematics behind it, and as well as the behavioral questions that is going to assess your skills. And that will help the other person, the person who is taking your interview, to decide whether you're fit for the job. Now, why this aspect is very important because the person who is taking your interview doesn't have years of relationship with you to understand, okay, are you fit for the role? So the person who is taking the interview or who will be with you in that, I'll say the between 20 minutes talk. So he'll just have the 20 minutes and it is your responsibility that you put your best for preparation so that you are confidently be able to represent yourself and in a right way so that which shows your true nature and you can ensure that you get the most of that interview time that you're getting. So your goal should be when you're preparing for any interview, so it's to master the concepts and the techniques so that you can confidently showcase your expertise. Now, when we talk about the key areas of preparation, I've already shared you the key areas of preparation in the chat window. So if it's not available, don't worry. You can I'll be sharing it with you at the end as well. So some of the key areas that you have to prepare, if I want to mention it at a very high level, is first of all, resume and portfolio. It's very important that in your resume, you highlight the relevant projects and quantify the impact. Now, the reason that this is important because it's easy to say that I know generative AI, I know ChatGPT, I know BERT, I know this, I know Hugging Face, but what is the impact that you are able to deliver with that knowledge? That is what is expected in the overall interviews. To highlight what are the relevant projects that you have worked on and what is the impact that your role or your expertise have brought to the table. So, or at least what is the impact that your overall project has because you're already part of that project. So ensure that you quantify the impact. So were you able to increase the revenue or were you able to reduce the cost? Ensure you specify those terms because that's one of the key area that will be like I'll say it as a important highlight for your resume because if you have an impact, so that clearly shows that you not only know, okay, you not only know how to work, but also how to sell. The reason is, as you go above in your senior roles, okay, it's not just about building the product, but also ability to sell to the business or the client, because that's how the companies is going to make the money. So the minimum expectation, irrespective of the level that you're applying for, the minimum expectation is, how do you quantify the impact? So in the consulting domain, we call it as a, it's one of the impact indicator that we will say in our consulting companies. So what's the impact that you had on client, and what's the impact that you had in the team? So those are the key things that we are generally be assessed in our consulting companies. And if you're someone who's not part of the consulting company, I'm sure this might sound like, why should I be thinking about impact? But let me remind you again and again, as a data scientist or as a data professional, you're trying to build a solution. Now, if you're unable to quantify the impact for the client, how would you justify that you have done the work? I maybe it might sound blunt to you, but I'm sure most of you would agree. So, like, do you agree that you should be able to quantify the impact that you're making? What do you think? Do you think yes or no? So let me know in the chat window, guys. Do you think we have to quantify the impact? So Rajiv, Priyanka, Rutuja, Samiksha, Vijay, Sridhar, okay, Venkatesh. That's correct, guys. So as most of you all agree, I'm sure you might have experienced as well. It is very important that you quantify the impact. So now when you're preparing the resume today, ensure that whatever the projects that you have worked on, ensure that you add at least 1 or 2 lines about the impact that you have made. Okay, then these are the obvious checklist. Now, I'll say technical knowledge is a bare minimum. The reason because that's like an entry ticket. This is what you will be asked about. So the technical knowledge you should be strong at when you're appearing for the role of generative AI would include machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, evaluation metrics, the frameworks that you're familiar with, like TensorFlow, PyTorch, Scikit-learn, Hugging Face, and the knowledge of MLOps. And at least if you have not got the complete information of MLOps, at least understand the basics of deployment. Because these are the, I'll say, a minimal expectation from a data scientist these days. A basic knowledge of the deployment that is possible. If you're not aware, at least ask your teammates, because you're preparing for the next job role. At least get to know from the company that you're working with, and go ahead and understand how the model is actually deployed. What are the technologies that is working in the backend? Is it Kubernetes based on-premise deployment, or is it a cloud-based deployment? How is it hosted? How is it being monitored? Ensure that you learn as much as possible on the deployment aspects of it. You can also check out some of the courses from Manifold AI Learning too. If you're completely new to MLOps, I highly recommend you to check out that course. So here the important thing is you have to be aware of the basics. It's good if you know from the project side. I would say that is more than enough to get started. Now, once you have completed, I'll say a minimal thing, the other aspects is the behavioral and the soft skills. Now, why is it very important? Well, the reason that this is important because when you think about your interview journey, it's not just you'll straight away go to the technical role. There's a lot of communication that might happen with you between the person who's trying to schedule with you, and like once the interview process is over, there's a behavioral and soft skills will play a major role, because at the end of the day, you're interacting with the people. So focus on behavioral and soft skills. And here, the best way to be prepared for this is to be prepared beforehand itself. So we have given you some checklist for this as well. Like when we talk about behavioral and soft skill, a clear guideline as like one important thing is like under this communication, you should be able to explain the complex concepts in a clear manner. There should not be any ambiguity over there. Now, how can you achieve it? Well, it's basically done through practicing. So you have to practice, and you have to be prepared yourself as, okay, maybe you can focus on each area, and at least you should be able to explain the complex topics in a clear manner. Like one of the common question that is as being the that is being asked these days is, let's say, the transformer architecture, because nowadays most of the role that we are dealing with is a generative AI, and transformer models is a basics for generative AI. So you can definitely get a question on transformers model. Now, if I come over there and ask you as explain the positional embedding of the transformer, you should not be looking forwards, or you should not be thinking about how do I explain it. So you should be well prepared, and you should be able to clearly say that, hey, positional embedding is the one that we would use it to inject the position to the word embeddings that we are sending to the transformer architecture, because the transformer models do not care about position. It is we who care for position. So it should come naturally to you. The way it will come naturally is through the practice. There's no such thing as like we get it by birth. So through the practice, you can achieve it. This this will come the behavioral and the soft skills, because the more you're confident, the more you are able to convey the complex stuff in a simple manner. That shows your level of expertise in that domain. So you might have noticed my way itself, like when I just straight away took up a question and I just answered it in a simple way that I would answer to a friend. So I would get it with the help of my confidence that I was able to do it. And if you're someone who wants to go for the next role, this is a basic thing, because you are going to convey the answers to another human being, not a machine. Next one, collaboration. So this is like the points about how you can explain your impact. So I'll say this will be added to the way that you have created the impact. So how's your experience in collaborating with the other teams like data scientists, engineers, and stakeholders? I'll say this comes under as part of the how you have added the impact for your project. And problem solving, that is how do you approach, have you approached the experience so far when it comes to handling the machine learning, deep learning, and NLP challenges? And how adaptable are you? And what are the new tools that you're aware of? So be aware of latest trends that is happening in the market. You don't have to be master at it. At least know what is happening in the current domain. Like to give you an example, maybe in generative AI space, if you're working with AWS, maybe I'll just recommend at least to know the basics of the Bedrock, AWS Bedrock that we have got. So at least that's the kind of preparation that you can do. Now, all these information will be made available from the publisher side or from the documentation page. All these are easily available. So this will take care of behavior and soft skills. Then coming to the company and role specific, it's very important that you prepare for the company and the role specific. The reason because the kind of questions that will be asked in your job interview is dependent on the company and the role that you're applying for. Let's say you're being interviewed for a company, let's say Uber. Now, in such scenario, if Uber is trying to interview you, do you think the Uber company is going, like the Uber team is going to ask you the questions saying as, hey, have you worked on DNA sequencing or RNA sequencing from the healthcare domain? No, they won't ask, because their domain is in travel, and their question, and they will be more interested in about how you can contribute to the travel domain. So be prepared and research the company and understand the job requirement. That's an important aspect. Now, once you have understood, think about your overall skill set and understand how you can align your skill set for the role that you're applying for. Now, this also comes from the preparation that you would make. And the next one is a salary negotiation. Now, before you take up your next job decision, it's always important that you are prepared on what is it that you're expecting for. Okay, this is a bare minimum. You have to do the research and know the same as well. And lastly, the document preparedness. So let's have a quick deep dive into all the high level topics that I've just mentioned. See, let's start with the technical deep dive. Now, when we say technical deep dive, the important aspects will be machine learning, which involves the topics such as linear regression, logistic regression, decision tree, random forest, support vector machines, naive, and also the basics of feature scaling, dimensional reduction, cross validation, the Like I'll say, it's just a representative list that I mentioned. I'm sure the list is endless. So like you can cover as much as possible from the machine learning domain. And more importantly, as I mentioned earlier, know the complex stuff and also have practice in the back end as you are practiced enough to explain that complex stuff in a simple manner. And this comes through the practice or repeated reading. Then the deep learning. The key areas that I want to highlight might include how does a single neuron would work, multi-layer perceptron, backpropagation, gradient descent, the various types of optimizer, various types of initializer, the challenges in our neural networks, that is the vanishing gradient, exploding gradient, the various types of architecture like CNN, RNN, transformers, LSTM, and if you're working on object detection based project, maybe understanding more from the object detection side, such as RCNN, YOLO, or the object detection architecture itself overall, the role of activation function, the hyperparameters of the deep learning, such as the dropout layer, batch normalization layer, and the early stopping technique. And coming to the NLP, so these days we see most of the projects are around the NLP and generative AI. So it's very important that you understand the pre-processing techniques that we apply on the text data, which includes tokenization, stemming, lemmatization, stop word removal, word to work, glove, bird, GPT, understanding all these things. And not just these, understanding about what are the various benchmarking tests that we do on these large language model and how do we evaluate the large language model? What are the metrics that we use it to evaluate the large language model? Like, for example, if you are dealing with a like the tasks such as machine translation or a summarization or question answering. So maybe we are interested in making use of the metrics such as blue or rogue. So it's important that you understand those metrics as well and the benchmarking data set and the training methodology that is used in famous architecture. So those are the key expectations from this NLP domain too. Now, apart from that, coming to the behavioral and soft skills. So as I mentioned already, have a clear explain about the technical concepts to both technical and non-technical audience. Because if you have experience, like before they actually schedule it for the interview, they'll have a initial checking round from the recruitment side just to validate you have the necessary skill set. Okay, so if you have a clear way to explain the technical concepts to both technical and non-technical audience, that would be a value plus for you. And problem solving, so ability to break down the complex problem that you have had, propose solution and evaluate the result. And if you can provide an example in this area, that would be really great, about the previous problem that you have solved, how you have used your expertise and the experience in resolving it, or what are the key learnings from there. I'll say that would be an amazing story to speak in the interview. And as I mentioned, adaptability, this means at least be aware about what is happening in the overall market that we see these days, the various services that are there from various cloud partners, which can be utilized in the potential future project. Okay, so this takes care of behavioral and soft skills. And as I mentioned, company and role research. So explore their product. It's even though it's I'll say a general one, but I would say this is an important factor for your role preparation. As I mentioned, if they're hiring you for generative AI, then your goal preparation should be around the NLP, how the generative AI model would work, and how machine learning and deep learning can solve such text problem as well. So like in most of the cases, like if you're being hired for generative AI, so it doesn't make sense for you to be preparing on the object detection or let's say OCR, because anyways uh, you'll not be having much of its evaluation in the job role. Okay, so research on the role and the company that you're being applied for, analyze the required skills and the experience. And you can also make use of LinkedIn and Glassdoor to get to know about the team and the company culture, read the employee reviews and get the salary insights. And when we talk about salary, it's very important that you have done the enough research. Always know your worth. You should assess your skill, experience, and value you bring. And always be prepared. Like I've seen the like candidates where they will just focus on the technical round and they'll clear it. And when it comes to the salary negotiation, they don't know what to speak in the next day or with the HR where they are going to have a call. So the best way to prepare is to practice. So practice your negotiation pitch and always have a target salary in mind. It doesn't matter what the company's expectation is. You always have to have a target salary in mind and you have to have, okay, this is my worth. So this is a breaking point or this is the minimum that I can go. So this is the minimum that I can come down, but not until that. Okay. So this you will have a clarity when you have done your thorough research by going through the various blogs. Maybe you can interact with your friends and keep that in mind. And when you have a salary target in mind. And also, when you are prepared in this single value aspect, okay, when you're prepared that, okay, this is the single number and I'll not go less, you'll have you'll have much more confidence in asking more questions related to beyond salary because it's not just about salary. It's about what are the other benefits that you're going to get. Let's say if the salary that you're getting is at the lowest point of what you have set as a threshold, but now you can start negotiating more on the benefits like are you giving me joining bonus, equity, or other perks because you know what is the kind of order like the offer that the company is offering you. You have already done your background as how much that you are worth it. So you will have a fair chance or you'll have a better way to negotiate and get the most out of this interview process with the HR. And even though this might sound a mandatory one, but ensure that you have prepared your document. So it should not be that once you have done the like once you have it's not that once you have cleared the job interview you have to prepare for this. So there's also a psychology behind it, guys. Okay, it has worked with me and it has worked with my other students as well. So when you start acting in a way that you have already got a job, and when you are in the zone of the confidence that you've already got the job and you're moving to the next company, so you will have better chances or more chances of performing well in the interview. So this is actually called as like the same practice is being done in the Olympics, like Olympics or people work going for space travel. So what they will do, it's called as mind rehearsal. So in the mind rehearsal, it's about how you would feel, okay, how you would feel when you have actually achieved it. Now, how can you bring that sense without appearing for the interview? You can actually bring that sense when you're preparing for the document. Now, just prepare for the document, prepare your documents as if you're joining the next company on the salary that you have set. So prepare your document, make the updated resume, make the updated cover letter, ensure that you have all the educational certificates in a single place, have the reference letter, contact information, portfolio of project, your identity documents, your maybe last 6 months pay slip, which you will be using it for negotiation with the HR round, and the ones that you will be submitting for background check. Ensure that you enjoy this process because once you start igniting these feelings that okay you're actually ready for the next step, the all the previous things that I've talked about, that is the previous steps, preparing yourself for the technical aspect and the behavioral and soft skills, preparing for the roles, salary negotiation, I'll say all these things will come to you as a second nature. Okay, so that's the step that I would highly recommend for anyone who is preparing for your next job role. Remember, guys, the success or the failure in this job interview will always be dependent on you. Like, obviously, there are some cases which you cannot control it, but wherever possible, have control on the things that are on your hand so that you don't feel regret once that process is over. So, the way that you can do is like start practicing your technical and behavioral responses, research your potential companies and role, and begin preparing your documents. That's how you can ignite the right feelings, ignite the right action to move towards the right goal. All right, guys. So this was about the high level details as how you can prepare yourself for the job interview. Now, I've gotten one important announcement that I want to make. So the manifold AI learning is launching a new program on the interview preparation as how you can actually prepare yourself to the next level. So this is a boot camp for preparing the uh, professionals and the interview journey. Okay, you can check out the link. I'll be sharing you the link in the description. So this is the link. So you can check out, and this is a 20 hours, I'll say 2 weeks boot camp. So it's a weekday session. The sessions are between 9 p.m. IST to 11 p.m. IST. And we'll be mastering all these steps in detail. And not just these, there are some additional activities also that we'll be performing, which will ensure that you prepare yourself in a right way for your next job role. And now let me remind you guys, this is not a session where I'll be taking you through the basics to advance and explain from scratch. No, this is not that course. Okay, this is a boot camp where we assume that you have a knowledge on machine learning, deep learning, and generative AI basics. If you're not aware, I can share you the learning resources. But the overall boot camp is specific to ensuring your success in the overall job interview process. It could be preparing your resume, or it could be preparing your LinkedIn profile. So, or it could be the techniques that you have to master oneself so that you can remove some of the mental blocks that you might have. And also, we'll talk about some of the key topics as well, which are very much essential for your examination. Sorry, like for your interview, guys. Okay. So, that's what this overall bootcamp is all about. Now, if you feel like this is something that is of interest to you, so go ahead and check out the same. And let me remind you the pricing that you would see on the Manifold AI Learning side. So this is a early bird pricing. So ensure that you get the most. The price is expected to increase within, I'll say, I think that what I got to know from the management is in 3 days. So ensure that you get yourself registered if you're someone who is serious on taking your learning journey to the next level, especially the interview journey to the next level. So, anyways, I've given you the this sheet. Okay, you can obviously follow the path that you're most comfortable with. You can follow it, but if you want to take it to the next level, I welcome you to try out our course. All right, guys. So with this, we come to the end of this session. Now, I'll be here on call in case if you have got any specific question. Okay. Now, if you want to speak to me or if you have got any specification, do let me know as well. I can unmute you. And thank you so much again, everyone, for your time. And as I mentioned, let me remind you, the price is going to increase within 3 days. So ensure that you get the most of this early bird pricing that we have got. Okay. So thank you again for joining in, and I'll see you next time. So Priyanka says learning materials for Gen AI. So we can, okay, so if you're getting started, Priyanka, maybe you can check out the course on manifold AI learning. There's a course on LLM ops. Maybe that's something that you can definitely check out if you're new to generative AI. So let me see. Yeah, this is the NLP one. And there's one more course that's called as LLM ops. Maybe these are the two courses uh, that is worth checking out. Or if you want to maybe get the most of the generative AI, you can also check out the Mastering the Generative AI package from Manifold AI Learning, which includes all the courses. Yeah, that's correct, Priyanka. Okay. Any other questions, team? Okay. So Piyush, there's a question over here. Okay. Uh, Piyush says, sir, I want to learn how to scale machine learning. Okay, in the cloud. Okay. So Piyush, I highly recommend you to check out the MLOps content that we have got. Maybe it's worth checking out some of the courses at Manifold AI Learning on the MLOps. Let me share you the link. That can definitely help you to learn more. If you're looking for self-paced courses, it is worth checking out. There's also a bootcamp that's going on, which is on LLM Ops. You can write to support team. They can help you with the same. But yeah, this is something that you can definitely learn more about how you can scale. There are two learning resources that I would recommend: MLOps with AWS and MLOps Bootcamp. Okay. Now, any other questions, folks? Okay, Rutuja says, if switching to a team in AI in a company with no experience in AI but huge experience in general software, it becomes to show the potential. In this case, switching to a particular startup, is it recommended or even at a pay cut? So, Rutuja, so first of all, like going at a pay cut is not worth it. I mean, that's my personal. I mean, I'm not sure about your personal situation, but if you ask me, going at a pay cut is not worth it, irrespective of the goal that you have got or the role that is being offered. Next, if you feel like that you have no experience, then I would recommend you to spend some time. Maybe you can, there are a lot of resources that is available. You can check out the YouTube channel of Manifold AI Learning. There are some webinars that we have conducted on how this generative AI would work, the background about it. Or you can also check out the course that I've shared, the LLM Ops Masterclass, to understand some of the background about it. Maybe you can also try for NVIDIA certification as well. It's a very simple one, so you have to put in the effort. I'll say it's worth it. So if you understand and go through the topics, you know what the subject is, that gives you more confidence, because you're already saying that you have a huge experience in general software. So use that as an advantage. Just learn the simple services, see how you can integrate it. Then you are bringing more value to the table than the peers that you might have in the company. So that's my personal opinion. But yeah, you can definitely think more in that way as well, because it's definitely worth it to learn rather than going at a pay cut, which will definitely do not like it. I've seen people doing that and they will regret it after a few months, because it's very easy to learn the generative AI. Perfect. Okay. Any other questions, team? Okay, Ray. No, I do not have as of now, Piyush. Yeah, you are correct. So Ray can be utilized as well for scaling, but currently we do not have any content related to Ray as of now, Piyush. Okay. Now, any other questions, folks? Okay, thank you so much again, everyone. So, yeah, I wish you all the very best for your learning journey. You can check out the Manifold AI learning courses on the website. So, there's a lot of amazing bootcamps that's going on. There's a NVIDIA certification bootcamp that's currently going on, and we are coming to end in the next weekend. And the next bootcamp is going to start from 5th of August. Like, it's a morning, so you can also check out that as well. It's a certificate oriented bootcamp, and this is like I'll say the live bootcamp for the interviews. And there are some amazing self-paced courses at Manifold AI Learning. There's a generative AI package which will give you more than 15 courses in the generative AI space, and all the new courses that gets added in future, you'll be getting the access for free on this generative AI package. Or you can also check out the individual courses as well, whichever is the one that's in alignment with your learning journey. You can check out the same, but this is something which I found to be most value for money. Okay, so check out the courses at Manifold AI Learning, and also YouTube channel of Manifold AI Learning. So stay connected with us, and I hope to see you next time, guys, on our next webinar. So thank you again for joining in. I'll be here on call for another 1 or 2 minutes to answer any other queries that you might have, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Okay, so Vishal says, can I join the interview bootcamp? Definitely, Vishal. Have you done the payment? Let me just check. Okay, sure, Vishal. Just give me 2 minutes. Okay, that's amazing, Vishal. Yes, thank you, Vishal, for your confirmation. Yeah, the team has just confirmed. Yes, your admission is confirmed for the next batch of this generative AI interview preparation. So I look forward to seeing you on the session, Vishal. Thank you so much for registering with us. Okay, just give me 1 second. I think there are two more learners, Sandhya and Shruti. Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay, congratulations, Sandhya and Shruti. Yes, I welcome you for the bootcamp. Sunidhi, okay. One second. Let me see if I have the confirmation from the team. So, Sunidhi, can you just confirm the email address that you have used? The team can check in the backend. So, okay, I see the UPI ID ending with, uh, I think GNI. Is that correct? Okay, that's correct. That's correct. So, Sunidhi, we were able to validate it. I think it's since it had a different name, that we could not validate it. So we have received the admission confirmation. I welcome you for the live boot camp, Sunidhi. Okay, that's amazing, guys. So thank you again, everyone, for joining in. I'm sharing you the link again in the chat window on our social media channels as well. So thanks again for joining in. I hope to see you next time. Take care.